what inspired you to get into acting?
What matters is the story and how you craft it.
You've answered a lot of the questions already with that one answer, so that's fine.
Speak to as many people as you can. Even if you're on the bus and you meet a complete stranger, be interested in their story, because you just don't know when these moments might tweak something when you're creating a character or something.
I want to introduce our new flatmate.
A funny thing happened to Omar on his way to freedom.
Hey, you one of their refugees?
Yes.
Fate took a detour.
What's your name, pal?
Omar.
Right, Omar. Don't blow up shite or rape anyone, right?
Okay.
You wanna lift back up to town, pal?
Now he's stuck in limbo.
What would you do if they let you stay?
I would like to wear suit and work in office.
I was taking a chance to make life better.
I want to play for Chelsea Football Club.
Ha!
Please subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on your favourite podcasting platform. Thank you.
Hi there, welcome to Film Forums. My name is Aiysha Jebali and I have with me a special guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Vikash. My name is Vikash Bhai, and I'm an actor.
And how did you get into acting?
Good question. I think sort of a different way, I suppose, to how most people usually get into acting, which is, and by that I mean going to drama school and getting the sort of 3 years training and getting an agent after that and all that sort of stuff. So I wasn't fortunate enough to do that. I grew up in a single parent household, and things were always quite tight, and so the idea of traveling from Leicester, which is where I grew up, to London for various auditions and paying for that and etc. Just seemed like way out of reach. So my entry into this world was really through, I guess, the generosity of people I knew in the Midlands. I worked with various different amateur theatre companies growing up. And when I got into my 20s, I started working with lots of different theatre and education companies. And I don't know if there is still a lot of theatre and education going on. I mean, probably not now because of COVID. But yeah, so that's where I started, and I've got kind of long way around answering this. But yeah, and I worked with a writer-director called Jez Simons in Leicester, and he worked a lot with professional actors and aspiring actors, and that's kind of where I cut my teeth on stage, really.
It's very similar to my journey, actually.
All right.
Yeah, I was very similar, but yeah, I was more like I went into the kind of free indie projects, I did quite a bit of like unpaid acting work and stuff like that to kind of build a showreel. Talking of showreels, how did you find that whole thing, getting footage together? I think that can be a big challenge for a lot of actors.
It was, and it was one of the biggest challenges I had for a long time. Coming from a theatre background and really only doing a lot of theatre for the most part of my career meant that there really wasn't much footage. And so until I moved to London, and in fact, really until I don't think it was until I signed with my current agent, Sarah Sedov at Core Management, who has been an absolute blessing for me, and I'm sure for many actors, because she started to open doors for me that hadn't been opened before, and I began to book jobs, and so I started to compile this stuff, that I've been yearning for years. Like, where is it? And so yeah, so it was, in answer to your question, really tough, really, really hard.
The women not cover their faces in Afghanistan?
Huh? But you can tell everything from the eyes. Happy, sad, everything. Look. Guess.
I don't know.
Huh?
So tell us about some of the roles that you've had. What was the most, not necessarily the most fun, but maybe the most memorable? Like what have you done recently that you're like, I'm so glad I'm part of this?
I mean, I'd have to say that Limbo, which comes out on the 9th of April, has been by far to date the most wonderful project that I've been a part of. From the page to the putting it on its feet, the people that I worked with, I mean, I've absolutely enjoyed every single moment of it, and getting to play the character that I did get to play, Farhad, alongside the incredibly talented Mr. Omar El Masri, who plays Omar, and working with Ben Sharrock. Just, I mean, I could go on and on and on and on. It was, yeah, it's been my favorite thing to do today.
Was there something specifically about the story that attracted you to
that? It had so much heart from the moment I kid you not, it was one of those scripts I read, and upon reading it, I said to my wife, I have to do this. I just have to do this. And I just put every ounce of energy and thought and will the universe to make it happen. And by God, it was a tough process. I think I must have auditioned about 7 times, recalls and screen test, and then more recalls, and then kind of tweaking things, and all the while Ben encouraging me and really being in my corner and saying, look, we just need to tweak these few things, and I think we're there. So it was jumping through hoops and whatever, but got there in the end.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about your character?
Sure. So I play Farhad, who is a sort of Freddie Mercury superfan who has traveled from Afghanistan to seek asylum, and we meet Farhad in Limbo, I guess, on this sort of remote Scottish island, where he's befriended Omar, who's the protagonist, whose story we follow, and he lives with Omar in a house share with two other young men, played by Ola Oberi and Kwabena Ansa, who play Wasif and Abedi. And so these 4 characters, we meet them and we see how life plays out in Limbo, really, and the comedy, I guess, and the poignancy that ensues from there on.
Yeah, it's quite dark comedy. Like I enjoyed it. For me, I maybe mentioned this earlier, but I have been on Twitter excited about this film for quite a while, because
oh wow, thank you.
Yeah, as soon as I heard what it was about, the plot, my family, half of my family are immigrants as well, so I kind of wanted to and it's set in Scotland, so I was like, I'm really curious to see what story they tell, right. Because everyone has their own experiences. But I grew up also in a really small town where, some of those awful words that are mentioned in the film are just common speech, you know what I mean? And it's not necessarily like, they don't think that they're being racist, but they clearly are, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it depends. I mean, I had like a very bad experience of racism in Scotland just because of where I grew up. But then if I think about Aberdeen, for example, which is a city and it's a bit more metropolitan, or Edinburgh, those experiences wouldn't have been the same. And now nobody even notices that I am mixed race at all, they're clueless. They see white skin and hear a Scottish accent and go, okay, right.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I was intrigued, but also I thought that it was actually a really good portrayal. It was, quite authentic. There are some people who mean it hatefully, and there are some people who don't. They are just genuinely quite ignorant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was.
Was it your parents who came over from Tunisia?
Yeah. So my father's Tunisian, but my mom is Scottish, so I'm half and half. And we were raised here, and so in a small town. I mean, yeah, my dad was considered black, and he's not black. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was that level of ignorance that I'm talking about, But it's so different now, I'm not saying it's perfect. There's still a ways to go. I don't like it when people act like racism doesn't exist in the UK anymore, because it thoroughly does. But it is a lot better now, definitely.
Yeah, I think things have moved on, especially from when I was growing up. I mean, my mum came over to the UK when I want to say maybe when she was 20, and not by choice. You know, it was an arranged marriage, and she wasn't happy about it from the beginning. But you know, family knows best, and so you have to do what your family says. And so, but she did. You know, she came over here, and it was tough. It was very, very hard, and the marriage didn't last. And so then she was in this foreign country on her own, raising this child of 4. Didn't really speak much English, and you know, I think just going back to the film, one of the things that I had quite close to me as an inspiration to kind of help me tap in as a way into Farhad was really my mum's way of being, where she's, despite her having been through whatever it is shit she's been through throughout her life, she's always had hope, and she's always put on a brave face. And you would never know to meet her that this is a woman who's faced any kind of hardship and raised this young man, young 36, but yeah. But her way of being positive despite anything, no matter whatever happened, she'd always try and see the bright side of the situation, and I drew a lot from that for playing this part. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's really important to hear those stories, you know what I mean, and to see how things are evolving over time, you know.
We should organize a concert, and we could have a finger buffet at the interval.
On behalf of my client, I think this is a very good idea.
So do you quite like doing accents and things like that? Have you done like voice acting, for example?
I've not actually done any voice acting. I that's something else I'd love to do, and you know, kind of be immortalized in a cartoon or for a game or something. But I do like doing accents, and I can't do an accent off the cuff. If you were to say kind of, and in fact, one of the hardest accents I find anyway is the South African accent. I've tried for so long, right?
I'm in total agreement. The two accents that I find the most difficult would be South African and Australian. And I think it's for kind of similar reasons, in that their accent varies so much. Like,
yeah,
you know, it's just so, I don't know, you think you've got a sound down, but then in another word it completely changes, and it just boggles my mind.
Just throws you, doesn't it?
Yeah, totally. But then other accents, you know, I can pick up no bother, so it just depends. How do you go about getting your accent for this one? You know, for Farhad, because he has
Farhad. Great question. For Farhad, there were quite a few different things that we did to get the accent.
I cannot be myself back home.
In Syria, very famous.
Maybe a little.
Maybe I could be your agent.
Production were kind enough to put me in touch with the Afghan Society, and where I started to learn to speak Dari. And so I think I must have spent about a month doing this. You don't ask me to speak any now, because I won't remember a thing, apart from maybe Tashakur, which I think means thank you. And Chiturhasti, which I think is how are you? I don't know. Anyway, I don't know why I'm trying. And so we did that. And so I met these chaps, and I'd record all of the conversations that we were having, and I'd hear them speak. I try to emulate that. And there's a great resource online called International Dialects and something Archive. International Dialects English Archive, I think, something like that, which is a great resource for anybody who's out there who's ever trying to work out an accent. There's a piece of text, the same text every time, and it's read in various different accents. So you can access that. And so I use that and use this. And we also had an accent coach on board who I'd meet regularly to fine tune bits after we'd done some rehearsal. Then we'd come back and we'd either do like a phone call or we'd meet for a coffee, and when we could meet for coffees, and kind of and work through that.
Yeah, your accent was on point, I have to say.
Oh wow, thank you.
I was going, wow, like this is really, like I wouldn't have, because obviously I knew, you know, that you were British, but I was like listening, I was like, it's really, really on the money. So yeah, well done on that. I know it can be hard sometimes to, you know, pin that down.
That's not ping pong, Farhad.
Yes? Ping pong, ping pong.
If you were to give any advice, you know, to a aspiring actor that's coming up, what would it be?
Wow, really good question. What would I say? I would say put the work in, prepare as much as you can. I don't think you can ever prepare enough. I mean, you can maybe prepare too much and be exhausted, but I think always try and put as much work in as possible, and persevere. I think you just don't know who's watching and who's seen your stuff, and doors will open for you, but you just have to just be ready, be prepared for when that call comes, that you're ready to go. And I'd also say find different interests, you know, take up a new hobby, keep yourself and your brain active and engaged with something, whether it be some sports or learning to play chess or painting, whatever it might be. And speak to as many people as you can. You know, even if you're on the bus and you meet a complete stranger, be interested in their story, because you just don't know when these moments might tweak something when you're creating a character or something. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. That's brilliant advice. And for the audience, if you are still with us at this point, please do click like and subscribe. Leave us a comment. Let us know how you felt about this interview.
Please subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on your favourite podcasting platform. Thank you.